Yeah, it's Clive Roxinger here. Now, what I'm finding with 3D printing, it all traces back to my illness, in actual fact, with respect to how you deal with 3D printing as a whole. 3D printing has got to be a cycle, because if you don't treat it in a cycle, you're going to get fed up with it after doing it for 3 months, and you will discontinue it. And also, everything will be in disarray. You won't be able to find anything. You'll forget which parts were which. Everything will just fall apart. So there's 4 parts to 3D printing. And the first thing about mathematics that you learn is you need to identify everything. So in this particular case, you have on the one side the 3D printing, the physical printing out of the part. The other part's design, which is, in this particular case, there's a design there. I've integrated a large battery into this design, and I've made a flip-top piece of apparatus there, which is what I'm working on here, that allows you to put the battery in. I had a bit of trouble trying to get the battery in under that canopy with where the wires are there. They go through that block, and I had trouble getting the little battery underneath that gizmo, so I made this thing with the arm up. I really tried to make it look professional, I just couldn't do it. It looks stupid, but it's the best I can do. And after a while, after about 3 or 4 different generations of it, it will eventually look okay, but at the moment it looks stupid. But that was the original one, but I had trouble getting the battery in underneath that. That's with, where is it? Where is that thing? Oh, that's this thing here. That was this. So that sits under there, and that thing can actually lift up. That's the pivot there, with the hole in it. And that tray actually flips up, and you put that in there to hold it. So rather than have it fixed like that. And I've also lowered that down. This is a good thing about having wide tolerance, to see how I've dropped the base down to get the battery in, and it was actually physically longer, so I was lucky I had a bit of girth. And that's why you don't get too advanced with your designs. Always, do them big to start with until you get it all figured out, then start to reduce it in size. But the critical point here is depression. When you take on a big job like this, you're looking at 30 hours to print one of those out completely, roughly, and I've got 4 of those, so that's 120 hours at 40 hours a week. That's 40 hours. 40 hours a week? 8 hours a day. I think a 40-hour week. Yeah, well, you're looking at like 3 weeks or something to print this out. It's a lot of time, but it's 120 hours to print out 4 of those, and you have to get it all refined, so you can't have it all half-baked and not fitting properly. So this is a new one. It's going to be contrasted with black, and mainly because I run out of white, and I bought a huge amount of money worth of filament. This is PLA Plus. It's really nice too. With depression, because I've managed to get on top of me manic depression, I've learned to understand depression, and with manic depression you can't hit it head on. I had a psych nurse tell me, I said, how can I stop from, I said, when I go to the pub, how can I stop from getting into a fight? He said, don't go to the pub. And I realised that with manic depression you have to manage it. In other words, you have to negotiate with it, find out where the trigger points are, and avoid those trigger points, and you're not going to, I don't go into a cycle of depression. One of the big trigger points with me, and I won't say who they are, but my friends told me not to roll back into my happy place. They kept telling me off for it, and about 4 times in a row, and I got really depressed. My happy place in manic depression is where you're giggling and laughing and talking to yourself, and you're imagining things, and it's wonderful, and it's really joyful. And with manic depression, it's such a horrible thing that to have fun is bliss. But what I found is that after I went through that cycle, I started getting angry. And so that's your trigger point with manic depression. Don't go back into your happy place. And these psych people wouldn't know anything about this, because the way they did this was in a way that is not physically, us humans can't do it. We'll give away not. But anyway, my friends told me not to roll back into my happy place, and I've never had a psychotic episode since. So the idea is, the trigger point of this is you've got to get it into a flow. So what I do is I design, and this is actually part of the same job. This was really depressing me. This has really been drudgery. This is many pages long. It started with that, went on to that, and this is your hybrid pi model. I've now got to apply it to this power part of your circuit, and now this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pages, whatever, another one, of mathematics. All that is a basic model. Then I've got to lay all of that. This is your power circuit, and AV and all that. I've got to lay that mathematics over the top of that circuit, and then I've got to do your S-domain analysis Fourier series and work out the signal behaviour, and that all traces back to your S-domain analysis and that sort of stuff. And that's where you've got capacitors in the hybrid model. In this particular case, it's a power circuit, and you'll see there's only resistors and that. Where you've got capacitors, that's dealing with the signal. This is the power part, and the signal's got capacitors in it. It's got internal capacitances in there, and that relates to all of that. But the main thing is to not let depression get a hold of you. One of the trigger points with this stuff is mucking around, doing like it takes 6.5 hours to do one half of that. It took 6.5 hours to print that, right? Now, if you're going to muck around, it's going to take you about a month or 2 months. When the depression sets in and gets a hold of you, that's it, you're done. You're going to be dithering around with it forever. So the trigger point is get it into a flow. You design, you put it on the printer, and while you're doing the printer, you're doing your assembly. And this is what I'm doing here, filing the parts off. This is one set that I've got to do, that I've printed out. They've all got to be processed, and they've got to be turned into those and put onto the blackboard. I've got the other one being printed at the moment. Get it into a flow. You get design, print it, and then assembly. Design, print, assembly. Design, print, assembly. I've been doing this for 3 or 4 days, and hopefully I'll go right through till I'm at least got 2 or 3 of them. I want to get at least 3, and then I can do some tests. And then when you get past it, you can leave it alone and finish it. Otherwise it's going to go on forever. Anyway, Clive Rock Singer over and out. I'm about to cut off. I've got a few seconds left. Yeah.